Welcome back to Inside the GBL Week 4. Last week we did an Inside the GBL covering most of our topics and power rankings. This week we'll be covering the NWLA, some of the stories in our league so far this season, and the upcoming matchups for Week 4 coming this Sunday. First, let's start with the NWLA Regionals coming up June 6th. Our official roster has been announced by Jeremy Radishak himself, our commissioner. The roster is as followed: Jeremy Radishak from the Gas House Gorillas, Brian Gallagher from the Gas House Gorillas, Nate Bryan from the Stallionaires, Mike Kabaki Jr. from the Nighttime Ninjas, and Andrew Felday from the Lightning. We do have a couple of players new this year. I think Kabaki and Felday are new. I'm pretty sure Bryan and Gallagher may be also, but I know Radishak and Lister have played before. More coming up on Lister soon. But this will be in Kalamazoo, Michigan on June 6th. The schedule is unfollowed at June 6th at 9:30. The WSEM Dads, who are 14-8 in their play so far in the tournaments, will take on our GBL Paw Chests, who we are 9-11 so far. And if you're wondering what the WSEM stands for, it is Griffle in Southeast Michigan. That's the first game at 9:30. The second game is at 12:30. Our GBL Paw Chests will be taking on the BWACS Lot Lizards, the BWACS. They are the Backyard Wiffle Association of Chicago South Side. We were supposed to have a preseason game with them earlier in the season, but we never got the exhibitions going. Some schedules came up, rain came up, so we're looking forward to see them during the regionals play. Also at 3:30, our third game, our Paw Chests will be taking on the ISWB, the Indy Southside Wiffle Ball League. And then at 5:30, the KWL Keggers will be taking on our GBL Paw Chest at 5:30. And the KWLA is Kalamazoo Wiffle Ball League. So far, I know the GBL has been guaranteed a Columbus spot for the Nationals. So that is great to hear for our GBL team. Go Paw Chest. I'm excited. I will not be at the regionals myself due to some work and conflicts, but I will be there at Nationals to help out our media. Those are our NWLA news so far. We're really excited to be there. We appreciate the opportunities for our GBL, for the GBL Nation. And I also appreciate the opportunity to be able to cover some of the games at the Nationals. Hopefully, I can see what I can do for regionals, but it's not looking too good. But after that, that's our NWLA news. Next, we're going to be talking about what's going on in our league, a little bit more around our league. Our previews for this week, we got 6 games, as always, on every Sunday. Our first 2 games are at 3 and 4 o'clock. The Gas House Gorillas will take on the Bird Gang. The Gas House Gorillas are 4-2, sitting in 3rd place, and the Bird Gang are sitting in 1-5 in last place. What could happen if the Bird Gang can slow down the Gas House Gorillas? The Gas House Gorillas' offense is pretty potent with Jim Tucker and Jeremy Radishak batting both over 400. But Ryan Gallagher and Zach McIntyre are batting under 300, which is not great by GBL standards. We'll see what team shows up for the Gas House, because they definitely put the whooping on the Lightning last week. Also, for the Bird Gang, what team are we going to see? The Bird Gang, last week, in Game 1 versus the Nighttime Ninjas, won 8-4 and played one of the best all-around wiffle ball games all season for their team. But in the second game, they lost 16-0 in 4 innings and got no hit by Ethan Arve, who threw a perfect game and struck out 7 out of the 8 batters. We'll also see if Jim Tucker continue his Cy Young campaign. He is so far this season, 11 innings pitched, he is 4-0 with a 0.45 ERA. He has a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. And he has been lights out so far. Let's see if he can keep it up, because most likely he's going to start both games for the Gas House Gorillas. And Jeremy Radishak may come in relief for both games as well. If Gallagher is there, he will pitch one of those games. If McIntyre is there, he might also pitch one of those games. I'd bet more on Gallagher to pitch him, because we've seen him pitch before earlier in the season. Like I said earlier, Rat and Tucker are hitting very well, but sooner or later they're going to go through a dry spell and they may need some help very soon. So I want to see if Gallagher can get back into the swing of things, because his average so far, he's got gaudy power numbers for the first few years of his career, but right now he's not hitting too well. I don't think he does not have a home run this season. Our next games at 5 and 6 o'clock. Big matchup here. First and second place teams are going at it. We got the 4-2 Stallionaires and the 4-2 Nighttime Ninjas. I believe the Nighttime Ninjas have a lot to prove still to the league because they have not won more than 4 games in any season so far. So if they win one of these two, they have got their single season win total at its highest peak of all time in the Nighttime Ninjas dynasty, in the Nighttime Ninjas career. So far, it's a game of star power between these two teams. MVP candidates, former MVPs. 3 MVP candidates are up this year in Nate Bryan, Mike Kabaki, and Ethan Arve, and a former MVP in Matt Kuna. He's starting to get the ball ready. We know he's a dominant pitcher, but he's only hitting about 290. Let me see the exact numbers for Kuna this year. Yeah, he's hitting 261. He does have 4 home runs, but usually he's usually 350 and 350 batting average or higher hitter. So we'll see if he can get something going here against the Ninjas. These two teams have 2 strengths, so which is going to falter first? The Stallionaires pitching has been excellent all season. They've been superb. They have been the best in the league with a team ERA under 1. And the Ninjas hitting has been really good this season, especially if Sammy Kruchek comes back. They're going to have a hard lineup to get by. So it's basically 2 strengths colliding, or big 2 trains just going like this, and one of them is going to get off the rails first, so we'll see what happens. The possible starters for this game are interesting. Well, we can have a pitching duel, or we can have a slugfest. So far, Stallionaires games have been pitching duels. Kuna and Bryan and Reyna, most likely Nate Bryan might go game 1, or John Reyna might go game 1, and Nate Bryan will go game 2. We'll see if Matt Kuna usually comes in relief, if to shut the door. If they have a 1 to 3 run lead, he will definitely try to shut the door. And then for the other side, we have Kabaki, who's 3-0, and Ethan Arve, who just threw a perfect game last week. So these two, even though the Ninjas' strength is hitting, their pitching has been great as well. And so, like I said earlier, will Sammy Kruchek make his 2015 GBL debut? I've heard from Mike Kabaki Jr. he may be there on Sunday. We will see. So this is a big matchup early in the season. Both teams 4-2, trying to jock for position, knowing Gashouse is in the rearview mirror. The 3-time champions are coming at 4-2 after taking a sweep from the Lightning last week. So one of these two teams need to sweep each other to get a nice little lead going to 6-2. That would be big, especially with the Ninjas taking on the Bird Gang this week. It looks like the Ninjas, I mean not the Ninjas, the Gashouse Gorillas taking on the Bird Gang this week. I apologize. So it could be Gashouse going to 6-2. So one of these two teams, if they want to stay in first place, they might have to sweep to get and stay in the top of the power rankings, or Gashouse is going to find its way back on top once again. The nightcaps, which I will be announcing, will be at 7 and 8 o'clock. The Taka Drivers, who are 3-3, will take on the Lightning, who are 2-4. The Lightning's only 2 wins this season have come off of forfeits, so technically they do not have an official win this season. So let's see if they can get a win this season. The Lightning did just sign Derek Rivas in free agency, and Tyler Walk as emergency only. I'm not very good. And let's see if the Lightning can field some of the players. Can Tommy Merkulis come to play this week? Oh, excuse me. If Tommy comes to play this week, their team is significantly improved. He's one of the better players in the league, and we'll see if he can show up and help his team try to jock for some sort of positioning in the playoffs, because they're still right there. It's early, so they're only a game back of the 4th spot against the Taka Drivers. So this is a big series for the Lightning this week. Speaking of the Taka Drivers, can they score a little bit more? In one game this season, they won a game 18-0 in 4 innings. But in the other 5 games, they have only scored 7 runs. So they ever have to generate a little bit more offense if they wanted to keep winning games. But I know they're 3-3, so most of their wins have been impressive. They've gotten a couple walk-offs, a couple 1-0 victories, a 1-0 no-hit game between the Stallionaires last week, which was amazing to watch, by the way. No hits, and the Taka Drivers still win a game 1-0. Unbelievable, but how long can they really keep that up for before the other team starts scoring on them? So who's going to close for the Lightning? Who's going to be their closer? Last week, Andrew Felde started off really well, gave the Lightning a nice lead, but gave up a couple of hits and had to take them out in 3 innings. So Tyler Walk, had to come in and try to shut the door. Did not go so well. So if they can find a closer, they could be in good shape for the rest of the season. But without a good 2-inning closer, the Lightning are going to be in trouble for the rest of the season unless Tommy Merkles can find a way, or Derek Rivas, the new addition, or Brandon Garcia can find a way to close games. And those are our 6 games so far for the Week 4. Let me give you a little bit of a predictions. In Game 1 between the Gas House Gorillas versus the Bird Gang, Jim Tucker is probably going to pitch, and I believe he's going to shut the door on the Bird Gang. I say Gas House wins the first game 5-0. And then in the second game, I believe the Bird Gang fight a little bit, but I still believe the Gas House are going to win, let's say 8-5. 8-5. So Gas House will sweep the Bird Gang in our first 2 games of the series of Sunday. The next 2 games, the Stallionaires and the Nighttime Ninjas, a little bit harder to choose. From what I've seen so far, I'd rather go with a split, but I know one of these 2 teams are going to be jockeying for position. So I say whoever wins the first game is going to win both games, with that kind of momentum going. So I say the Stallionaires win Game 1 3-0, and then they win Game 2 5-0. I just believe the Stallionaires are really ready to take the mantle of champions this year. Even though it's really early, I just believe Matt Kuna, Nate Bryan, John Reyna, and David Kunapasic are ready to hold up the 2015 GBL trophy and be the 3rd team in our league to hold a trophy besides the Gas House Gorillas and the Lightning. In our last games, I believe the Taka Drivers and the Lightning are going to split. I believe Tommy Merkles, this is a big prediction, I believe Tommy Merkles will be there this week, and he's gonna help the Lightning take at least one of those games, giving the Taka Drivers another split on the season. So I say Game 1, Lightning take it 5-4, and then Game 2, Taka comes out swinging, scores 10 runs, and say they win 10-0. And another couple of hot topics so far this week. This week the GBL officially retired their first number 7, Kyle Litzter. So he's officially now retired, and his number is on the GBL website as one of our retired numbers. And these are, I'm gonna give you some of the stats, but they're little skewgs in the first 2 seasons. Batting average, hits, and at-bats weren't recorded, so I'll give you some of his numbers, but one number sticks out the most, and you'll understand why. So in 68 games in the regular season, he batted .325 with 27 RBIs and a .385 on-base percentage, but he had 102 home runs. So those numbers are a little skewed. He might have been hitting .500 with 600 on-base percentage and like 170 RBIs. Who knows? But 102 home runs, that's a big amount, and that's still one of the top 5, or still one of the better players. He's still one of the best players to ever play in the GBL. He's also, pitching was his most dominant stat. 33-10 with 203 innings pitched, a 1.50 ERA with 75 Ks, and he had 2 saves out of 4 chances. And he also got the Lightning the first 2 years of the GBL, their first 2 titles. Thank you, Kyle Litzter, for helping us start this league. Thank you. We appreciate it. We're going to miss you out there, bud. It was really fun watching you play. From another teammate through to another teammate. Thank you, bud. Thank you. And then a little stat our commissioner put up this week. Just a little side note at the end here. On Twitter, he put the hardest to K, the hardest person to strike out per at-bat. And the winner was Nate Bryan for every 7.2 at-bats, Sammy Kruchek for every 7.1 at-bats, and Jeremy Rashek for every 6.1 at-bats. The whole post is on his Twitter page. If you want to go follow him at Griffle Ball League, that'd be awesome. But that is our Inside the GBL so far. I do not have a co-host today. It was just me. And I appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day to listen to me blabber and mess up my words every 5 seconds for the GBL. But I'm looking forward to Week 4. Whiffle out, guys. And also, see you guys at the NWLA tournament. The GBL Paw Chests are coming.